Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to KnuckleSandwich MMA. We are going to recap last weekend's fights. It's a little late, but I just wanted to give you my thoughts on it. And then we're going to move forward to this weekend's main card with Lewis versus Oleinik. So let's start off with last week's card. This was the Bunson Shahbazyan fight card. And we're going to start from the bottom to the top and on the main card, and we'll go from there. All right. So first and foremost, Kevin Holland versus Trevin Giles did not happen. If you guys are aware, I'm sure you are, that Giles fainted before, like on his way out to the octagon, and so they canceled that fight like right there and then. It was kind of a crazy deal. I know this card had a lot of issues. There was a lot of fallout from fighters that tested for COVID-19. And I think they had about 3 bouts that were canceled on this card. However, the card itself was still fantastic. Great fights. A couple of fights that were okay, but they can't all be, solid gold, but this was a very, very good card. And so with Holland and Giles out, we're going to move up to the next fight. And this was Lando Vannata versus Bobby Green. Now, these guys have fought before. And Bobby Green, I'm telling you, he's looking better and better and better. And Lando Vannata, he's one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC. He's got a losing streak a little bit. I think he's lost 2 or 3 in a row with this last fight with Bobby Green. But they met before, and Lando wanted to run it back, thought he could win again or beat him this time, and it didn't work out that way. But it was an extremely entertaining fight. In fact, these guys got the fight of the night. Very, very tough fight. Bobby Green didn't have many marks on his face or anything. Lando Vannata had some cuts, some swelling, and he definitely got the worst of the fight. However, he did some cool stuff, like he always does. And I really like his bobbing and weaving, the way he flows. His problem is that he gets in there and stays in there. He doesn't get back out of the way, and so he takes a lot of punishment. And that's not good for longevity of a fighter. You can't take that kind of punishment and then continue to have many years of fighting, because it takes its toll, including scar tissue. Because when you get cut up, when you get cut open, that's when it heals. That scar tissue is like almost paper thin. And a good example of that is Nate Diaz, because whenever he fights, he turns to a bloody mess, and it's not even hard strikes, not even hard elbows. It's just, punches to the face, and the skin just tears because of all the scar tissue. And that's what Lando Vannata's starting to face. He's starting to get cut up quite a bit, but he takes a lot of headshots. He did tag Bobby Green quite a bit, though. And Green, he just looked in phenomenal shape. I mean, that dude doesn't have an ounce of body fat on him. And he's got a good attitude. He's still cocky like he always is, but that makes him Bobby Green, right? But he's got a great attitude and a great work ethic. He's starting to work hard, and he's really turned the corner on his career. Being in the fight game this long, you can change, you can get better, and that's exactly what Bobby Green's doing, and it's working for him. Sometimes you got to change camps, sometimes you got to change coaches, sometimes you got to focus on the stuff that you're weak on. A lot of people don't like to grapple, or they don't like to wrestle, and so they don't work it that much, and they depend on their hands not to go to the ground. But you've seen fighters that when they go to the ground, they don't have a ground game. They're just like a fish out of water. They're just flopping around there. They don't know how to get up. They don't know how to scramble out of it, and so it ends up being a bad night for them. But Bobby Green just seems to be coming full circle as far as being a well-rounded fighter. Lando Vannata, I'm not a fighter, but from what I see and what I would give my opinion on is that Lando Vannata needs to stop taking so many hits. He's got to be more evasive. If he can do that, and if he can find his range better, okay, I think that he would be a phenomenal fighter. He's exciting now, but man, he takes a lot of punishment. All right, let's move up to the next one. So we have Vicente Luque versus Vicente Luque versus Randy Brown. And this one, Luque is just on a tear, and you've heard that terminology before. I try not to use all the terminology everybody else uses, but he is. I mean, he's winning, and he's winning in dominant fashion. He's a great fighter, very technical, very smart, very high IQ in the ring, and he moves forward. You know, he puts pressure on you, and it's weird because if somebody's poking you in the face, okay, picture this: if somebody's poking you in the face, but they keep coming, and you're trying to get out of the way, and they just keep, you know, they're not even knockout shots, but they're just poking you. They're uncomfortable shots. They hurt a little bit, but they're uncomfortable. But it's like you can't get them off you, and then your mind panic starts to set in. Like, how do I get this guy off me? You know, and he's not going anywhere. That's what Luque does. He moves forward, and but he doesn't get crazy. He's constantly in your face. Randy Brown, he was a taller fighter. He had a longer range. But Luque, man, he shut him down right at the get-go. And when he threw that very first calf kick, I knew that was going to cause Randy Brown a lot of trouble. And he kept peppering that leg, peppering until that leg just couldn't take it anymore. You know, depending on how hard the kick is. Now, they used to kick the thigh. You know, that was kind of the thing. You know, kick the inside thigh, kick the outside of the thigh. You know, but now they've because they've seen how effective it is, they kick the lower calf. And when they kick the lower calf, you can only take so many of those, especially if it's from the shin of the other fighter. You can only take so many of those before your leg stops working. Now, on your lead leg, and Randy Brown kept planting that lead leg, because in order to get a good hard punch, you got to plant the lead leg and then drop that punch. And so he planted that lead leg, and as soon as he did that, Luque would kick that lower calf kick. And it just did not take long before Randy was trying to switch, and he's not a good. He didn't have the ability to really stay and switch to southpaw, you know, because he'd go right back to the other one. But he only partially checked, I think, one kick. But then when he saw that he couldn't throw those power punches, even though he had the range, then Luque started coming in and just started doing damage. And he beat Randy Brown. It was a really, really good fight. Very technical. Luque looked smart. He had plenty of energy. Randy Brown tried really hard. He did not quit. He's not a quitter. But man, he got that leg touched up pretty good. So that was a good fight. I enjoyed that fight. Now, Joanne Calderwood, the next fight, she was going to go in against Jennifer Maia, who's a Brazilian fighter, and she's a pretty good fighter. She's not as well known as Calderwood, but Calderwood was a late call. She was kind of a fill-in for Jennifer to fight Jennifer Maia, who had another opponent that fell out. And Calderwood was in line for Shevchenko to fight for the title. And she just didn't want to wait. She got anxious, and she didn't want to wait around, for that fight. She wanted to go in, hopefully take care of Jennifer Maia, and then she'd be, have a little bit more money in the bank and be ready for the title fight. Unfortunately, it did not work out that way for Calderwood. And to be honest with you, some of the other commentators are saying, or podcasters were saying that Calderwood may have taken her lightly. I don't think so. I think Calderwood, because she knew what was on the line. She knew she had to win this fight, to make sure she secured her position for the title fight. I think what happened was Calderwood just did not look that good. She looked, she kind of, I don't know if she was tired. She just, her head didn't seem to be in the game. She looked a little worried. She looked, maybe the hour change because, I don't know what it was, but maybe she had a bad weight cut, because I know that she fainted after the fight, and they had to take her to the hospital. So I think might have been a weight cut. Maybe she was sick. Who knows? But Jennifer Maia went out there and pretty much put on a clinic. She beat her on the striking game, which is Joanna's pretty good striker. She's gotten better over the years. But Maya put on a pretty good striking. She was stronger. You could see that right off the bat. She was very much stronger than Calderwood. And then when she took her down, put her in an arm bar, and that was the end of that in the first round. And it was surprising to me that it ended that quickly. But it looked like once she got her on the ground, it was over. So I don't want to say it was a good fight for Maya. I was a little disappointed for Calderwood because she just got, Maya was a better fighter that night. And so now Dana White said in the post press conference that Maya was going to be fighting Savchenko. So there you go. She just moved into the number one spot, and she's going to fight for the championship. Now, the levels between those two are huge. I don't think anybody's going to beat Savchenko anytime in the near future because she's just too good. She dropped down to a lighter weight class and has just been dominating ever since. And massively, there's a huge gap in skill sets. Maya, it's not going to be close. The odds are going to be against her. The betting odds are going to be against her. But she's going to go in there and try and do it. Somebody's got to step up, right? She can't be champ forever, or can she? Now let's move up to the main fight of the night, and this was Derek Brunson versus Edmund Shahbazyan. And now Shahbazyan was he's called the Golden Boy. He is a product of Ronda Rousey. She's his manager, and there was plenty of interviews of him. He was like a 10-0 or 11-0. So he's no slouch. He's young, he's big, very strong, super tough. And so he was actually favored over Brunson. Brunson has been kind of the gatekeeper type of a person. But he always beats these young guys that come and you try to use him as a stepping stone. And that's exactly what happened this time. Now, Brunson was in total control the entire fight, and it lasted into the third round, a few seconds into the third round, but they probably should have ended at the second round because Shahbazyan was pretty beat up. He got ground and pound, and almost he looked to me like he was knocked out on the ground. But it was the end of the round. There was a few seconds left, and Herb Dean just wanted to let it go. And then they try to talk to him and try to get him to, go back in again, and he did. And then it took about 25 seconds for Derek to come out and just beat him to a pulp again and end the fight. And Herb called it as soon as Shahbazyan went down. But on Derek Brunson, you can't take anything away from this dude, man. He is a fighter. He's a good fighter. He's starting to his IQ is definitely going up. He's starting to be more patient. He's the type of fighter that would just lunge. If he caught you, and it's weird because his body leans forward and he's doing this, and he's trying to give you barrages of punches. And but he's not doing that anymore. He's got a different coaching staff, and they're teaching him some really cool techniques, and he's just being more patient. And he just picked Shahbazyan apart, did a really good job. He wrestled him to the ground, tired him out. I mean, because Shahbazyan, most of his last fights, they didn't go the distance at all. He was ending everybody's, ending all of his fights in the first round just because he was so vicious. But Brunson, man, he put the wrestling moves on when he needed to, tired him out, and then just ground and pounded him, man. And so Brunson was in charge of the fight the whole time. And Shahbazyan should take a lot from this. He should watch it over and over again and try and fill in those holes. Sometimes you get built up, and that's not to say he was a flash in the pan, because he's not. He's going to be a champion someday. I'm convinced of it. But he's got to get through this setback, because when you take a beating like that, sometimes it sticks in your head. And I've seen fighters over the years that it's never gotten out of them. It's never, when you get beat up like that, you just never, you're never the same. And so hopefully he'll come back stronger. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move to next week's card. By the way, that was an awesome card. If you guys have ESPN or ESPN Plus, go back and rewatch it because it was a really, really good card. Lots of action. Now let's move on to next week's, this coming weekend. So we have on the main card, I'm going to go from the bottom to the top as usual, but I've got Beneil Dariush versus Scott Holtzman. This one is a really, really interesting fight, okay? Because Scott Holtzman is one tough dude. Beneil Dariush is one tough dude. Their technique, the style matchup is going to be, it's not going to be a slugfest, but it's going to be a very technical fight. And what I mean by that, I think that there's going to be a lot of action. It's not going to be a lot of standing around. It's not going to be a chess match, okay? It's going to be a fight. But I think that they're so evenly matched, in my opinion, that I think if Dariush can get it to the ground, he's going to have a better chance of winning this fight. Likewise, of Holtzman, because he's got a chin on him, man. he's got a chin on him. Anyway, but if he can keep it standing, I think the fight is his to win. So this one is going to be a good fight. I wouldn't be surprised if it was fight of the night. Okay. I would not be surprised. Dariush is, both of these guys, they don't like to go backwards, and so it's going to be a clash. And then next up, we got Yana Kuniksaya versus Juliaha Stoliarenko. Stoliarenko. I can't pronounce their names. Now, I have not seen Juliaha fight before. Yana, I have seen, and she's a pretty good fighter. So that's going to be a nice little scrap at bantamweight, and should be a good fight. But I don't have any comments really on that one because I just don't know enough about it to, I should have done a little bit of research on Juliaha, but we'll see. I'll have a better insight after the match on Saturday, and do a little more homework on her. And then next we have Maki Pitolo versus Darren Stewart. Now this one's going to be a really good fight too. Stewart, in my opinion, he likes to push forward, but if you push him back, he'll put his back against the fence. And Maki Pitolo, he moves forward. So you're gonna see them kind of go in the center of the ring octagon at the beginning, but then you're gonna see Pitolo start to push him back and kind of crowd him a little bit, and we'll see how well of a counter puncher Stewart is. But I think overall for the middleweight, I'm looking at Pitolo to win this one, but don't count Stewart out because he's got a pretty nice right hand, and he can throw pretty good punch. But I think Pitolo's going to outwork him. Next up, we have Omari Akhmedov versus Chris Weidman. Now, Chris Weidman needs a win in the worst way. He's got to win. He's been losing. He's lost 3 or 4 of his last fights in a row. And he's the guy, if you don't remember, that beat Anderson Silva twice. But boy, he got knocked out. Who knocked him out? Was it Yoel? Yoel Romero cut his head open like a freaking can of tomatoes, man. And that was put him out. And I don't think he's ever been the same since. He's a hard worker. He's got a good character as far as, he's great on the mic. He's got a great personality. He's fun to talk, listen to. And then you got Omari Akhmedov, who is he's a worker. And he's a guy, most of these guys from Dagestan or Russia, they move forward. They like to move forward and press. But Chris Weidman is a really, really good wrestler. And so it just depends, I think if Chris takes it to the ground, he's got a good chance to win this, but he needs this win really, really bad. And then the last and not least, we have Derek Lewis versus Aleksei Oleinik. And they call Oleinik the constrictor because he can get you in almost any position on the ground. and squeeze you so hard that you tap. It doesn't even have to be a choke. He can, there's one called the Ezekiel, and he can do that and just put pressure with your arm over your head and just, you know, I saw him choke a guy out from the bottom. He was on the bottom and he pulled the guy down and just squeezed the dude, man, and he tapped. And so he's very dangerous on the ground. And he's an older fighter. Okay, I think he's in his either late 30s or early 40s. He's had a lot of fights. He's been in the game for a long time, and he's got a lot of fights. But he's been winning lately. And so I think at one point he was ready to retire, but he started winning, and he's been winning. I think he's won 3 in a row. So he's staying in the game because he's proven himself, you know. And then you got Derek Lewis, man. Derek Lewis, he's a really good fighter. He's a hard puncher. He's an animal when it comes to, and for a big guy, he's got a good high kick too, man. He'll kick your head off if you're not paying attention. Derek Lewis is a monster. They call him the Black Beast, and he acts like that in the ring, man. He's just a killer in there. But he's had his ups and downs, you know. So does Oleinik. He's had his ups and downs as well. But Derek Lewis, you know, I think he's looking at. If Oleinik wins, he's ranked number 10 right now. If he wins, he's going to jump up to probably Derek Lewis's spot, which is he's ranked number 4. I think Derek Lewis has had a series of some injuries, and he's been out a little bit, but he's ready to come back, and he looks strong. He's trim. He's a little more trim than he normally is. So look for him to be fast. He's fast for a big man. He's really fast. So he's going to keep it on the feet. Okay, that's his thing. If Derek Lewis gets put on the ground, Oleinik is going to finish him. He's going to tap. He's going to make him tap out. I can guarantee you that because Derek Lewis, man, he just does not have that stellar ground game. His stand-up game is spectacular. He's fast. He punches hard. He's got a good jab, and he kicks. Okay, Oleinik, he doesn't have all that. He can punch a little bit, but he just doesn't have that stand-up game. His game is on the ground. But if he takes Derek down, ooh, baby, you know, that's going to be ugly. It's going to be a short night for Lewis if they keep it standing and he blocks the takedowns. Oleinik's going to have a long night of getting punched in the face and getting pieced up. So there you go, guys. That is my take, and I will be back on schedule after this fight on Saturday and give you guys a post wrap up. And have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you guys later. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.